The meeting open at 4 p.m. thereabouts, and I welcome councillor, staff and members of the gallery and those that are watching online. So members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exemption resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer's recommendation as stated in the agenda as the council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and will be uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities, their cultures, and to elders past, present and emerging. Procedural motion, I put forward that Council suspends Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5, members to indicate their intention to speak and to rise when speaking, to allow members to remain seated when speaking to improve the quality of the audio recording of the meeting. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Holly. Let's put that one to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried 8-0. Thank you. Record of apologies and leave of absence. There are no apologies and we have an approved leave of absence from Councillor Carboni. Move on to applications for leave of absence, and I would like myself to request a leave of absence from Saturday the 8th of August 2026 to Thursday the 13th of August 2026 inclusive. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor McCarthy, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Bromham. I appreciate you giving me a couple of days off, councillors. I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 8-0. Thank you. Up on the screen, councillors and staff, we have declarations of members and officers' personal interest. Many of those are carried forward from the agenda briefing. Are there any additional ones? All good? Councillor Morley.
I declare an impartiality interest in the Harvey membership issue.
That's to do with the community grant one, 12.5.2. Thank you.
In that I know several of them.
Impartially. Thank you. And you'll stay in the chambers, of course. We got that 1 minute taker. Thank you. All right. Questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. Response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. So I'll move to public question time. A reminder that as per standing orders, it is 2 questions per person. I will allow a short preamble before each question, and if you, when called, come forward, just state your name and your suburb, and then we can address your question. So first off the ranks is Miss Sheila Ferguson. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you. Sheila Ferguson, Australind. The previous CEO informed me that I must ask each time for my questions and background information to be recorded as I present them and not summarised as permitted by standing orders, and I now make that request. I will provide an electronic copy. At the last council meeting, the Deputy Shire President terminated public question time without debate after 14 minutes when there were, quote, still quite a lot of questions left, unquote. There is no record of this in the minutes. The Shire's 2025 information statement states, quote, the allotted public question time during a council meeting is 20 minutes and may be extended if circumstances require, unquote. The regulations stipulate that, quote, the minimum time, my emphasis, to be allocated for public question time is 15 minutes. Will you allow 20 minutes for public question time in future, and what, quote, circumstances do you require for it to be extended?
Thank you, Mrs. Ferguson. I'll just confirm with governance, I thought it was 15 minutes allocated for public question time in our standing orders.
Thank you, and through the Shire President, so the allocation of public question time is dealt with in the admin regs, which is 15 minutes, and then there is supposed to be a notice, a motion to
I'm sorry, I
extend
can't hear the
time.
response.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you. I'll ask Manager Governance just to repeat that. Thank you.
Sure. So through the Shire President, the length of time given to public question time is in the administration regulations, and it is 15 minutes.
Which administration? The government ones?
The local government administration.
It says that that's the minimum time.
That's the minimum time, yes, and then there needs to be a notice or a motion to extend the time.
Well, the Shire's information statement 2025 says the allotted public question time during a council meeting is 20 minutes and may be extended if circumstances require.
Thank
So
you,
I
Mrs.
ask, will
Mrs.
you?
Ferguson, we will confirm that.
Thank you.
That information for you. Thank you.
Thank you. The
Second
Shire's
question.
2025 information statement states, any member of the public attending a council meeting can ask up to 3 questions, unquote. Standing orders state, each member of the public with a question is entitled to ask up to 2 questions before other members of the public will be invited to ask their questions. It does not state how many questions a person may ask in total. Will you allow members of the public to ask up to 3 questions?
Mrs. Ferguson, once again, you refer to the information statement. I'm not aware of the 3 questions per person, so let me leave that one with me, please.
Yeah,
I'll take that on notice.
I wasn't aware until I found the information statement online on your website. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that, and leave that one with me, Mrs. Ferguson, and we'll follow that up and get back to you on that.
May I ask a 3rd question?
I have a number of questions for today, Mrs. Ferguson, so if I'll just get through those first, and then if time permits, I'll come back to you for your 3rd question.
I feel when people make a 70-kilometre round trip from Australind to ask questions, we should be allowed to ask them if we take the trouble to arrive. I've submitted questions at the last meeting in writing, and they weren't taken, they weren't read out. So I've driven up today. And
On that case, okay, Mrs. Ferguson, please go ahead with your 3rd question.
Thank you very much. At the last council meeting, the Deputy Shire President said the remaining questions would be, quote, taken on notice and answers provided through the normal course, unquote. This aligns with standing orders which state that where a member of the public provides a written question, the presiding member may elect for the question to be responded to as normal business correspondence. However, standing orders also state, quote, when a question is taken on notice, the CEO is to ensure that a summary of the response is included in the agenda of the next meeting of the council, unquote. According to this, as the remaining questions were taken on notice, they should have been included in the agenda for this meeting. Because all council meetings are held in Harvey, a 70-kilometre round trip from where the majority of the Shire's residents live, the President has said that she will ask questions on behalf of members of the public. Questions are therefore often submitted in advance. If they are treated as normal business correspondence, the purpose of public question time will be defeated, and those residents unable to make the trip to Harvey will be denied the opportunity to have their questions on the public record. What were the remaining questions at the last meeting? What were the responses? And in future, if questions are submitted in writing in advance and there is no time left, will you publish them and the responses either in the minutes or in the agenda of the next meeting?
Through the Acting CEO, through Manager Governance, thank you.
Thank you, through the Shire President. The questions that were submitted that weren't read aloud in the meeting weren't taken on notice, which is what happens when the question is asked and then not answered. So in this case, they were entered into correspondence.
Well, the Deputy President used the words, "I will take those on notice." I'm quoting him. There's no record in the minutes, but on the video, he said, "I will take them on notice."
Okay, Mrs Ferguson, we will follow that up for you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Is it Mrs Peterson? Questions? I invite Mrs Peterson to come forward. Thank you. Welcome, Mrs Peterson.
Hiya. Okay, glasses. Am I doing the questions or the deputation?
You are doing your two questions, so
Okay.
just state your name and your suburb. Thank you.
Leanne Peterson, Leschenault. Question 1. The 2025-26 budget forecast of 24.93 million in capital grants, subsidies and contributions, but the actual amount received was only 4.73 million, with the Shire recording a 2.15 million net loss at the end of the year. I'm presuming all the accruals have been taken this time, being that it was in the budget report this morning. What were the reasons for this significant shortfall, and what specific measures has the Shire put in place to ensure the 22.27 million in capital grants, subsidies and contributions, I presume that is rolled over, for the 2026-27 year will actually be received?
Acting CEO, do you want to put that one through to Mr Winter?
Yes, please.
Mr Winter?
Thank you, Madam President. Many of the major capital works that we have in our budget and also included in our Forward Capital Works program are reliant on grants. And some of those grants, obviously we can't commence going to procurement until we have those grants on hand. So the bulk of what was actually carried forward are works that we either didn't have grants for or we weren't in a position to commence works. That's probably the easiest answer, or the most almost vague answer actually. Unless you've got anything else to add.
And I think the second part to your question, Ms Peterson, was around the what have we got in place to make sure that they are
Correct, because without these grants, you'll run at a loss again next year, and we can't continue to build year on losses.
Yeah, so the answer to that one is obviously the works don't commence until it's confirmed that the grants are confirmed and signed off in a financial assistance.
And in the budget, you notate most of your amounts and lines, but you don't notate your capital grants. Why? Is there a reason for that?
Is that the second question?
Is that your second question?
No, that's part of the first.
Okay, we might take that as your second question.
I've got a second question.
Would you like to ask that one?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
My second question is, in the 2026-27 budget forecast, a $798 million net surplus is forecasted, but this result includes the 22.27 million in capital grants, subsidies and contributions. If these grants are delayed or do not eventuate, what would the Shire's financial result be? And what is the plan to maintain financial sustainability without relying on uncertain external grants, funding, or allowing the underlying position to deteriorate even further?
Acting CEO, through to Mr Winter.
Yeah, I can add if need be.
I'd actually like to take that on notice if I can.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. I think probably just to add to that, it's similar to my previous response around obviously if funding is not received for certain projects, the project would not proceed.
Yeah, but
That would stop it from getting worse, to answer that.
yeah, it'll keep going into a loss. Thank you.
But we'll take that on notice. Your second question. Thanks, Mrs Peterson. Thank you. Can I invite now Julie, is it Whitehead or? Yeah, come forward please. Welcome. If you could just state your name and your suburb. Thank you, Julie.
So it's Julie Whitehead from Benio. I was wondering if the Shire had any thoughts or information on providing a bus service to Binyup. We're quite have a problem in Binyup. We don't have a doctor's surgeries. We don't have any facilities whatsoever apart from a shop. We're getting in older residents in our area now who are sometimes having a problem getting out of the area to go for doctor's visits or whatever if they can't get care. We also have quite a troubled youth in Binyup. They're quite bored. It would be nice, I realise that we can't have a bus service every day, but it would be nice if we could get something that would even get these children out to go to Bunbury, to go to the wonderful skate park that's been built there, you know. We don't have anything in Binyup. We've got a very small skate park. And I've noticed in the time that I've lived there that, you know, there's basketball courts. They've just been left to rack and ruin. There's just nothing for these kids to do, and they're causing problems.
All right, Julie, thank you so much for your question. And we're certainly aware of the lack of public transport throughout our shire, particularly for the coastal and the northern towns.
Yeah.
So we can certainly take that up and advocate on your behalf and the community's behalf to investigate the possibility of instigating a public transport, even if it's on weekends.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
as an
Yes.
option, but
Yes.
we will certainly take that on board.
Yes.
And follow that up.
That'd be great. And
Thank
I
you.
have one more.
Yes, you do.
Just wondering, I have spoken to the gentleman who looks after all the trees and everything for the Harvey Shire. We've got some dead trees he's well aware of in the area of Sienna Grove. They've come and taken all the branches down, but just got stumps, trees just sitting there that are quite, you know, they're not very attractive. The birds don't perch on them or anything, so that's not like it's anything for nature. He did mention to me something about the budget that possibly, you know, in the next budget, that there's maybe room to just get rid of these trees. Apart from all the other ones that cause all sorts of problems, you know, not just the leaves falling down everywhere. You know, my husband can't go outside to mow the lawn when these leaves, unless he wears a mask. You know, the respiratory problems and people with allergies. And then you go up on the roof to clean out your gutters and he falls off 2.5 metres off the ladder.
Oh,
so,
shame.
you know, they are a real problem, these plane trees.
Okay, let me just get that location again. Thanks, Julie.
Well, it'll be Sienna Grove.
Sienna
There's
Grove.
Yeah, that park area there.
Okay, through the acting CEO to Mr. Faber. Thank you.
I'd have to take that on notice and talk to our tree officer just to see what trees are actually you're discussing with him, and just find out some more information and get back to you on whether or not they'll be removed in the future. We do sometimes leave the main stump there if it's still considered to be safe and stable, because obviously there is an impact on bird life and the likes, and we do try to retain them if it's something that we can do, and there's a significant cost difference in removing a whole of tree compared to the main canopy section and leaving the main stump. But I'll take that on notice and I'll have a chat with Peter and get back to you on
Yeah,
that.
that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. Are there any other questions from the gallery? No? Thank you. We have received some questions online and I will go through those. So we received 2 questions from Miss Belinda Williams. Her short preamble in the first one is, when the LLC court expansion was launched as an advocacy priority project, it was valued at $30 million. The proposed budget now shows it to be a $14.5 million project. LLC services not only the Australian community but the entire Shire and nearby communities in neighbouring local governments. I understand key stakeholders have been engaged to discuss de-scoping the project. Her question is, can you please explain which parts of the project have been de-scoped to achieve more than a 50% reduction for the project budget? The response is the proposed budget figure for 26-27 is 14.95 million, with a further 8.05 million included in the Shire's Forward Capital Works Plan for 2027 to 2028. The original $31 million project incorporated 2 detailed stages of development. The project budget for stage 1 is 23 million, with 18.5 million provided by the state government. The Shire has been working with key stakeholders and the architectural consultants to finalise the design development to ensure that the project can be delivered within the available funds while still meeting the need of our community, and stage 2 is currently deferred. The preamble for the second question: the Shire of Harvey has a headcount of 290 staff compared with the WA medium of 141, which is a significant difference. Since reviewing the agenda and attachments, including the workforce plan and the proposed budget, I would like to try and understand how the workforce plan will be operationalised alongside the proposed budget. The question is, the workforce plan shows a relatively young workforce with skill and professional development gaps highlighted as a risk, as well as a poor communication. Increased staff levels supported by the proposed budget without actioning the workforce plan shows a disconnect between the workforce plan and the budget. Why do remuneration costs continue to increase when the workforce plan highlights an intent to review all roles as they become available, yet there is no increased training budget allocations to address the skills gap? The answer is the comparison of the Shire's workforce to the WA medium needs some context. The medium includes every participating local government in Western Australia, from very small rural shires employing more than 20 people, employing fewer than 20 people, through to large metropolitan cities employing well over 1,000. It is intended to demonstrate the diversity of the sector, not suggest that every local government should have a similar workforce. The Shire of Harvey is a SAT Band 2 local government and one of the larger regional councils in Western Australia. We have a growing population of more than 31,000 people and an annual budget expenditure of approximately $115 million, and also provide a broad range of services. When compared with other Band 2 regional councils, our workforce sits comfortably within the normal range. We also have a relatively high number of part-time and casual employees, primarily due to the LLC and seasonal work, meaning our headcount of 219 employees equates to 212 full-time equivalent positions. The increase in employee costs shown in the workforce plan is also not an increase in staffing numbers. These forecasts primarily account for enterprise agreement wage increases, salary progression, superannuation and other normal employment on costs required to maintain the existing workforce. The plan is clear that it is based on maintaining current service levels, not growing the workforce. The workforce plan also directly addresses the matters you have raised. Staff identified communication, training, management and systems as priorities, and the plan includes actions to improve onboarding, training, leadership capability, cross-team communication, succession planning and career development over the next 4 years. These improvements are not simply achieved by increasing the training budget. Many involve improving systems, management practices, communication and generally the way we work. The workforce plan is a strategic document that will be implemented progressively over 4 years, while the budget provides the annual funding required to deliver council services. For these reasons, officers do not believe there to be a disconnect between the workforce plan and the budget. Rather, the two documents work together, with the budget funding today's services and the workforce plan providing the long-term strategy to improve capability, productivity and service delivery. Very thorough response. Thank you, staff. A question from Ms Stone. Question 1. The $45,000 estimated loss of interest revenue associated with each fortnight of budget delay was not included in the agenda briefing papers and was only raised verbally during the agenda briefing as an additional consideration. Why was this financial risk not built into the preceding budget workshops so that Council could have factored this deadline into its strategic planning? The answer, councillors made numerous cuts and amendments to the preliminary draft budget at the councillors' budget workshops. They were informed at the workshops that if there were to be any amendments to the draft budget at the ordinary council meeting, officers would require 2 weeks to formalise the amendments into the statutory format, resulting in a delay in the budget adoption. Question 2 from Ms Stone. The proposed 7% increase represented a significant decision with an anticipated level of community concern. Elected members have not been provided with comparative modelling of alternative scenarios such as 0%, CPI-based or lower rate increase options, showing the corresponding impacts on services, projects, reserves and financial sustainability. Does the Shire consider that routinely presenting only the officer-recommended budget scenarios without alternative options provides elected members with sufficient information to make a fully informed decision? The answer, councillors previously workshopped the preliminary draft budget at length and on a line-by-line basis. The Shire formulated the draft budget over a 4-month period, with Council being informed and involved at all stages. The strategic process undertaken includes councillors being aware of the Shire's rating capacity and in adopting its revenue and rating plan. Councillors are aware that every 1% increase or decrease in rates equates to approximately $330,000 and the affected impact on capital projects and service delivery. It would not be financially prudent for Council to merely adopt a 0% or a CPI increase in rates. Council is required to consider asset management, service delivery and the future financial sustainability of the Shire. The budget process undertaken is robust, proven, informative, considers the Shire's long-term financial sustainability and is strategically aligned with the West Australian Integrated Planning and Reporting Framework. Question from Mr Earnshaw. With regard to the annual budget 26-27, my question relates to detailed schedules, P6 or the like, to itemise all the planned works and services, resource levelled, weighted to measure performance of progress and cost. Question 1 from Mr Earnshaw. Does the Council Administration have a Level 3 baseline schedule detailing the planned works, resources required, planned start and finish dates, weighted and logic linked? The answer, yes, the Shire does have a detailed project plan for all capital projects that clearly shows all the planned worked activities, start and finish dates, milestones and progress weightings so that progress and how risks and delays can be effectively managed and measured against an approved baseline. This is an operational documentation and not subject to public availability. The projects page on the Shire's website generally provide a summary project timeline to inform the public of anticipated projected timeframes. Question 2, if yes, then would Council consider making this available to the public for the purpose of transparency of when activities are expected to occur? If no, then how does Council know that the Council Administration have the capacity, that being the budget, resources, procurement and subcontract awards, to complete the budgeted works on time and on budget if there is no detailed schedule? Answer, in accordance with the Shire's Council Plan, Long-Term Financial Plan, Workforce Plan and Service Plans, Council allocates the necessary resources to complete budgeted works. Comprehensive project management, reporting and risk management processes are in place. That is time for public question time. Thank you. We'll now move into petitions, deputations and presentation, and we have a number of deputations. So can I invite Leanne Pedersen back up again? Thank you, Leanne.
Do I need to say my name in that again?
Yes, please, thank you.
Leanne Peterson, Leschnell. Dear councillors, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm speaking tonight because many people in our community are reaching a point where the continual increase in cost of living is becoming unsustainable. For many households, these increases are not happening in isolation. Electricity is up around 300, water by 250, car registration by 90, rates by 150, insurance is by 260 in a year. When adding these together, these increases represent additional financial burden on ordinary households. People simply cannot continue to absorb increases like this indefinitely, because eventually, like a pile of cards, the whole thing is going to crack and fall down. This is not just about council, it's about every level of government, every business and every household, looking at how they can be more efficient, effective and responsible with the money they have. I drive a 25-year-old car, I live in a 30-year-old house, and I live in a 65-plus-old body. All three require maintenance to keep them functioning and hopefully to get another 10, 20 or even 30 years out of them. I don't have the luxury of replacing my car every 3 years or building my house because I would like something bigger or flasher. I maintain what I have, repair what I can and work within my financial means. I believe council should be doing the same. Council has significant assets that have been built and paid for by ratepayers over many years. Councillors are elected to represent the community, to be responsible custodians of the money ratepayers provide to council. If ordinary people can maintain a 10, a 15 or a 20-year-old vehicle and keep it operating safely and effectively, surely council should be asking whether it is getting the maximum possible benefit from its vehicles, its equipment, infrastructure through proper maintenance and management. This brings me to some serious questions about council's current spending decisions. We really do need to spend time, approximately $500,000 restructuring their engineering department at this time. That figure, as I understand it, is equivalent to 4 or 5 new staff. Do we really need to spend $110,000 each time on multiple business cases where there are reports dating back to 2020 that have already identified that a lack of ongoing maintenance has contributed to these facilities falling into disrepair? Why can't these business cases be completed internally? At what point do we stop commissioning more reports and start addressing the underlying maintenance problems? Recently, I submitted a Freedom of Information request regarding my motion from January. This has not been a simple process and has been made more difficult by the Shire's refusal to include the relevant documents in an ordinary council meeting. The request has already required significant staff time. I'd like to say thank you to the staff member, she's been very nice, to respond to questions simply to obtain the correct documentation with apparent uncertainty about what I'm permitted to access. I've also been quoted $841 and the time of 29 hours to get the documents. Ridiculous. A question whether this is an efficient use of council resources, particularly when the community and council are already aware that the pool is in disrepair. Information should not be difficult for ratepayers to access, particularly when alternative may ultimately be the closure of a facility, as we have seen this week with the Harvey pool. The numbers presented to ratepayers also raise significant concerns. According to the Shire of Harvey's Statement of Comprehensive Income for the year ended 30th of June 2027, the increase in rate revenue is approximately 2.3 mil, but the increase in employment costs over the same period is approximately 2.9 mil. There's a big shortfall somewhere. The increase to employment costs is therefore greater than the increase to rate revenue. Yes, council needs employees, of course it does. But ratepayers are entitled to ask whether staffing levels are appropriate for the services being delivered and whether council is operating as efficient as it can. Council has approximately 290 employees, while the state average is around 141. Why is there such a significant difference? Is this level of staffing generally necessary? Are existing roles and processes being reviewed regularly? Are services being delivered in the most effective way? Are ratepayers receiving the outcomes that they should for money they are paying? These are reasonable questions, particularly when households are really struggling. Council cannot operate in isolation from the financial reality facing the people who fund it. I'm asking Council to seriously consider whether Council is prioritising spending in the right areas. Before asking ratepayers for even more, Council should be asking itself, can we maintain what we already have? Can we make our existing assets last longer? Can we reduce unnecessary expenditure? Can we find efficiencies before increasing staffing costs? Can we fix existing problems rather than continually commissioning new reports and business cases? And most importantly, are we providing the best possible value for every dollar collected from ratepayers? Ratepayers don't have the option of simply increasing their income whenever their expenses go up. Most people maintain what they own, repair rather than replace, and live within their means. Council should be held to the same standard. We need a council that is financially responsible, plans for the long term, properly maintains its assets, and understands that every dollar spent ultimately comes from the community. The community is not an endless source of funding. There is a breaking point. I urge councillors to take a hard look at council's expenditure, staffing levels, maintenance practices, and proposed projects before continuing to place additional financial pressures on ratepayers. All we are asking you to do is be responsible custodians of our money. Please don't wait until the pile of cards come crashing down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. Are there any questions, councillors? No? Thank you. I'd now like to invite Joanne Norton to come forward. Thank you, Joanne. If you just state your name and your suburb, thank you and welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Joanne Norton and I am from Benja. I thank you for this opportunity to present to you. I am the current president of the Brunswick Agricultural Society, and on behalf of the Society, I am requesting $27,500 of the Shire of Harvey on an ongoing and annual basis. The Brunswick Agricultural Society has engaged a contractor to undertake the role of an event coordinator. We are seeking financial support from the Shire of Harvey for half the annual cost of this position. In recent years, the level of legislation, compliance and planning required to deliver an event of this size has increased significantly. The advice from the Shire of Harvey's Department of Environmental Health is that a third-party provider be engaged to coordinate events with an expected patronage above 5,000, especially in an enclosed, fenced environment. The workload is no longer sustainable for our broad volunteer base. The event coordinator assists committee volunteers and manages the enormous amount of documentation and plans required towards the general planning and the coordination for our show, and some of these include an event management plan, emergency and evacuation management plan, risk assessments, crowd management plan, medical management plan, animal management and biosecurity plan, and water supply and sanitation plans. The current contract is for 12 months, with review scheduled for April 2027. Subject to that review, the Ag Society intends to extend the arrangement for further 2 years and then renew it on a 3-year basis. The current contractor has met all KPIs to date and brings 20 years' experience with event management in the city of Busselton and the Dunsborough area. The contractor has been in place from April this year, supporting the committee and the volunteers with substantial legislative and planning requirements as we work towards another successful Brunswick show in 88 days. The Brunswick Agricultural Society remains in a sound and financial position due to the careful financial management and the extraordinary contribution of our community and our volunteers, both in kind and in financial, since 1931. During the past 2 years, the annual operating expenses for this significant event has totaled approximately $550,000. The event coordinator is a large new annual expense that directly supports compliance, safety and sustainability. As we reach out for additional assistance, our contributions toward the community continues to grow. Over the past 2 years, our Ag Society has made a significant financial contribution of $310,000 towards the community. During the past 2 years, contributions to schools, sporting clubs and charitable groups that assist the Ag Society in preparation for the show have had a reported value of $165,000. Ag Society funded improvements to buildings and infrastructure at the Brunswick Showgrounds have a reported value of $145,000. The Ag Society intends to continue presenting Australia's largest one-day agricultural show in Brunswick for many years to come. The event attracts more than 20,000 people in a single day and generates substantial economic and social value for our small town and for our shire. Each year, for 93 years, the Society has presented an agricultural show for the wider community, showcasing the outstanding agricultural products and associated industries in the Shire of Harvey and surrounding districts. With a strong partnership agreement and an ongoing working relationship with the Shire of Harvey and with our contracted event coordinator, the future of Brunswick Agricultural Show will be sustainable for many years to come. The Brunswick Agricultural Society requests additional funds on an ongoing annual basis towards the cost of our contracted event coordinator, in recognition of the decades of our generous support to the Shire and to the wider community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne. Are there any questions, councillors? Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, thank you, Joanne, for your presentation and your passion, obviously.
Indeed.
I do have a question, though, because we're talking about people's rates when we give you money, and you're quite aware of that.
Yes.
So my question is, when you talk about your gate fees, is there a chance of actually running like a business charging a gate fee which would cover this cost?
We have increased our gate fees this year in line with CPI, as with other fees that we collect, like our trade space, for example. We don't believe that we can increase it anymore, because if we increased it from up beyond where it is, people aren't going to come, and so that defeats the purpose of the whole day.
Just one more, if I may. Yeah, so if that's the case, and we can't increase our gate fees, but we also give money away.
We do.
You were saying?
Yes.
So could that be tailored down so the costs were within your own capacity?
Potentially. I'd like to state that they are within our capacity. As I said, we are financially sound. We're asking the money from the Shire as recognition and additional support to what we do and why we do it for the wider community.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor McCarthy?
Just wanted to ask, thanks for your deputation there. So this person is already employed.
Yes, she's contracted.
So what was the Ag Society proposing to do for funds to fund her if the Shire was not in support?
We currently have funds to fund that, as I stated. We are financially sound. This money is, we're asking for your support in recognition of the money that we do give back to the Shire and to the community.
And if I can just following up from that, I know that it takes a lot of planning for a big event like that. Member of many volunteer groups and a lot of volunteer hours myself. But is the person required for 12 months of the year? Obviously, it's not just a jump in 2 months beforehand, but potentially April to November. Is there a reason that 12 months?
Planning for our show begins the very next day after, and it's become imperative that we have third party to assist us with that. So no, it can't be a part-time role.
Councillor Coleman?
Thanks, Madam President. Would it be a fair comment that the Shire's funding bucket is finite, as we've heard, but you do support an extraordinary number of community organisations, and they use that as their primary fundraiser throughout the year?
Indeed.
So would it be a fair comment that if you weren't able to do that and reduce your funding to these community groups, that they might come to the Shire looking for grant funding?
I would expect that would be the case for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Holly.
Thanks very much, Joanne. 20,000 people plus go through the gate?
Yeah, up to 21,500, 22,000.
So, and you've put the fees up this year.
Yeah.
You don't think by putting it up another $1.40 would, that would cover the costs? Is it going to break and stop many people, do you think, going through?
Well, as I said before, we have increased our costs for this year going forward, and they've been publicised. And as you know, when you put a cost up, it's probably not a good idea to put it up a great deal in one hit because that causes a problem. So I guess that's something that we do review each year. And so again, that will depend on the bottom line going forward, and the decision will be made based on that.
And what were your fees up this year, please?
About $1.50, $2.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, councillors? Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other deputations from the floor? No, thank you very much for that. We will move into announcements by the presiding member or the CEO without discussion. I have a couple of points here before we get into the formal agenda. You may notice a new person sitting to my right, so I'd like to welcome the Acting CEO, Tony Noddle, to the Shire of Harvey, and you've come in on a good meeting to start off with, so welcome, Mr Noddle. And also, July has been a busy month, and there's been lots of highlights within our Shire, and I'd just like to recognise a few of those. I attended the NAIDOC Sevens rugby competition and the Southwest pickleball competition. I didn't participate in either of those events. I did the presentations. They were all held at the LLC, as well as the girls' junior soccer competition over the weekend 11th and 12th of July. They were all fantastic events. The whole LLC was activated over that weekend. So I'd just like to acknowledge the efforts of our community volunteers and our own staff who worked tirelessly to make sure that the grounds were all in order for these events to take place. Also, on the 18th of July, Brunswick was the place to be. So we had the 90th birthday celebrations of the Brunswick Hall, a much loved facility by the Brunswick community and broader community. It was a fantastic event, so I'd like to acknowledge the Brunswick Towns team and the Brunswick CRC and our staff in preparing and delivering that event, and also the 70th anniversary for the HBL Football Club. Fortunately, they won against South Bunbury, so it was a great event and well attended. So thank you to everybody who participated. CEO, did you have anything?
Nothing from me.
Thank you. All right, councillors, we will move into the agenda. So, confirmation of minutes. We have the minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday, the 23rd of July, that they be accepted as published and confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Morley, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion, councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you. Also, minutes from the special council meeting held on Thursday, the 2nd of July, that seems so long ago now, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on Thursday, the 2nd of July 2026, as published, be confirmed as a true and correct record. If I could have a mover, thanks, councillor. Councillor Holly, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Hitchcock, thank you. Any discussion? I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. 0. Thank you. Receipts of minutes and recommendations from committees. We have the Behavioural Complaints Committee, the minutes of. This meeting was held on Tuesday, the 23rd of June. That they be published and be received as such. Do I have a mover for those? Thank you. Councillor Dickinson, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Morley. Any discussion? I shall put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you. And also our Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee, which was held on Tuesday, the 14th of July 2026. Do I have a mover for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Coleman. A seconder, Councillor Hitchcock. Any discussion? I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? And they are carried 8-0. Thank you very much, councillors. We'll now move into the officers' reports. And I have a recommendation here, or a motion, a resolution motion, please, that the following officers' reports be adopted, that being 12.1.1, which is the South West Country Zone meeting, minutes held in June 2026. 12.4.1, which is the financial statements as at the 30th of June 2026. 12.4.2, which is payments for June 2026, and 12.5.1, which is the cultural diversity initiatives. For the benefit of the public gallery and those that are online viewers, it is intended to move those several reports en bloc, which basically means that councillors have not identified any amendments or alternative motions or declarations of interest or any further questions. Therefore, there is likely to be no further discussion and the resolution will be as per the officer's recommendation. So I have them listed there, councillors. Are there any that councillors would like to have removed from the en bloc motion and dealt with separately? No? Happy with that? Then if I can have a move, I've moved that. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Morley. Is there likely to be any debate? I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you, councillors. All right, we will move into item 12.1.2, which is the Council Plan Quarterly Report for Quarter 4. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover? Councillor Morley, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Dickinson. Is there likely to be any discussion, councillors? No? I shall put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to item 12.1.3. Please note that additional information has been provided in regard to this item. This is the Council Action Register from January to June 2026. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bromham, thank you. A seconder? Councillor McCarthy. Is there likely to be any discussion or questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman, thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. Just a couple of questions, if I may. Going back to February on page, well, it's here, page 145, or page 5 of this report. We were waiting external response from the Honourable Chris Bowen about a motion raised at the annual general meeting of electors. So just wondering if we have an update on that, given that was back in February.
To the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of a response. But having spoken to other local governments who have also written to Minister Bowen, they too have not received a response. So we will follow that one up with Minister Bowen.
Okay, thank you. A second one, if I may. The Virgo brace upgrade, we were expecting that to be done by June. However, I understand there's been some issues, either funding or staffing. So do we know when that's going to be addressed and completed, please?
Through the Acting CEO to Mr Faber.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not aware of any issues. The contractor indicated that they'd be starting works at the end of this month or early into August. So as far as I'm aware, that's still all on target. I had a conversation with them recently about the shade sail colours and the like, so everything's progressing as was indicated originally.
Thank you. We did have a notice of motion that's in progress, and that was the drinking fountain at Brunswick River Pool. And the action taken was that options were being investigated in the 26-27 financial year and budget, but I was unable to find it in the budget. So I'm just wondering whether it's in amongst something else or whether it's been deferred.
Through the acting CEO, Mr. Winter, can I invite Mr. Chopper up? Apparently you have the answer to this question.
Thank you, Madam President. It's there in the budget. Let me, please, just give me a second. I will give the page number. Or I can take this question on notice and get back to you. But this is certainly in the budget. I can show you that.
Thank you, thank you. Another one, Madam President, the 3 parcels of land that we've got, and we've been written to the Minister for Planning to get approval. I'm just wondering if we have an update on any of those 3 rather than go through each one particularly.
Acting CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. Thanks, Councillor Coleman, for the question. Yeah, there is an update. We'll need to bring that through for a concept forum for Council to consider. The next steps from this process would be a business case after discussions with the Minister, which we felt was positive. Yeah.
Thank you. And would I perhaps, would that be similar along the lines of the city status investigation where outcome is still waiting external response?
Yeah, I can provide an update to that. As recently as lunchtime, we had an online meeting with Minister Beasley. She asked us a few questions. She is still seeking some further guidance around the city status and the process and the criteria that's in the Act. There are some silent criteria apparently that's not reflected in the Act. So, and of course, this is not something that she deals with on a daily basis. So, in her role as the Minister for Local Government. So she's seeking some further information from her own staff. However, it certainly wasn't a negative response from the Minister. She didn't provide us a timeline on her response and appreciated all the information that has been sent forward to her for her consideration.
Thanks, Madam President. In the on page 41 of that report, it's just a typo. Could we just address that appoints Councillor Dickinson as the Housing Advisory Group Chair? It's just a misspelling in there. If we could just finish that as an administrative one.
You note that one. Thanks, Governance.
And Madam President, do we address the addendum at this point in time as well to that item or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. The information going back to 2021, it's in progress. An application to be a youth not listed reception centre. It still seems to be in progress. I'm just wondering if that might have been progressed since 2021.
You might take that one on notice. Thanks, Councillor Coleman.
The lifting of the caveat for the Brunswick River cottages, has that occurred? Because that's also saying it's in progress. My understanding was that might have been addressed.
My understanding is that was addressed with the visit with Minister Carey last week.
I just need to confirm whether the process has been completed.
Okay, so the acting CEO will confirm where the status on the actual process of that occurring, but my understanding was Minister Carey was supportive of that.
Thanks, Madam President. And the other one, I know staff have done an awful lot of work on it, and that is the land acquisition for the Harvey Town Hall and Memorial Library. Is that now in our possession?
Acting CEO.
Once again, at that same meeting, those items were discussed with Minister Carey. It was a positive response from Minister Carey, so now it's just a process following through to finish those off with the Lands Department.
Lord, it takes years, doesn't it? That's 4 years. Okay.
Got done with the at the meeting last week. It's surprising. Yes.
It takes a long time to get a meeting with him. Yeah. No, I'll leave it at that. Thanks very much.
Mr. Winter?
Just to answer that first question with the water fountain, it's in the budget on page 146, $10,000, and it's under the irrigation area.
Thank you. That's probably why I couldn't find it when I was looking through for water fountain. Thank you.
Why would you put, of course you'd put a water fountain under irrigation. That makes sense. Thank you. We have a mover here, Councillor Bromham, seconded by Councillor McCarthy. Are there any other questions, councillors? Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 8-0. Okay, we shall now move on to item 12.1.4, which is the Council Plan 2026 through to 2035. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for the Council Plan? Councillor Holly, thank you very much. A seconder? Councillor McCarthy. Any discussion or questions? Councillor Coleman?
Thanks, Madam President. I just wanted to double check, and I'm pretty sure of the answer, but given that these are strategic actions that usually come from Council, the review identified several actions that are no longer required or more appropriately deferred. Were there any Council resolutions in there?
Through the Acting CEO to Manager Governance, thank you.
Through the Shire President. So the resolution is what is before Council today to make that decision. We had various workshops with Council and a presentation which went through the changes, but by effect, your decision today makes those strategic changes. I will note that nothing was strategic in sense. They were year-on-year actions, much like you would see in the corporate business plan. The strategic intent of the document is unchanged.
Sorry.
Follow-up question, Councillor Coleman? I can see you.
I didn't quite get it, sorry.
Okay.
So are we saying that there were some Council resolutions in there that we're now negating or not?
No, through the Shire President. What I'm saying is the decision today is to make that decision to change those items. Within the report, there are a number listed as completed. There are a few new actions listed. By resolving today, it's an absolute majority decision, is the decision to change that.
So I suppose the follow-up question was, if I may, Councillor Coleman, was there any resolutions of Council that were impacted by the decision we are making today?
Through the Chair, only the previous resolution to adopt the Council plan last year.
There we go. Happy with that? Yep. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ms Williams. Are there any other questions, councillors?
Just one or two, if I may.
Councillor Coleman.
I just wanted to check that on page 55, it said that support school programs to help local schools achieve net zero emissions, etc. We've listed it for 26-27, but not ongoing. So is that a one-off program, or are we still going to continue working with the schools going forward?
Acting CEO, are you in a position? I'm looking. No, I know.
Sorry, I think that's through.
I might go through to Hayden. Or
Sorry, through the Shire President, it was either listed, I think, from the Waste and Sustainability Service or from Sam Pickering. Yeah, I think it is funding dependent.
Funding dependent, but we will take that one on notice, thanks Councillor Coleman, and get back to you on that one.
Thank you, Madam President. And just two others on page 39. Complete the Leisure Centre Court expansion shows that we're looking for funding in next year, 27-28, further funding, and complete the Leisure Rec Park design for Oval 7 and 8, we're also looking for extra funding in 27-28. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Thank you.
And hopefully they will be part of our advocacy document moving forward. Thank you. Councillor Bronwyn, did you have a question? Or were you just waving?
No, I just thought the education originally was about, through waste was on mosquitoes and such things through our schools.
Okay.
Correct?
We'll have to confirm that one on the training. Okay, we have any other questions, councillors? We require an absolute majority, and we have a mover by Councillor Holly, seconded by Councillor McCarthy. Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. By absolute majority, 8-0. 12.1.5, Council Service Plans 2026 through to 2027. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for the council service plans? Thank you. Councillor Dickinson, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Bromham. Councillor Dickinson, do you wish to say anything?
I would just like to commend staff for, the process that we've gone through, and this has been workshopped with councillors. So even though we might not be asking a lot of questions, I think we do have a fair understanding, and so that's reflected in not having a lot of commentary today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bromham as a seconder? No? Any questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Thanks, Madam President. Just a bit of an explanation, if I might, please. Throughout the service plan, our targets are generally somewhere between 80 to 90%. I'm just wondering, if that's the target, why is it not 100%, knowing that we won't possibly achieve 100%? And given normal business practices, it also suggests we won't meet the 80 to 90% either. So just wondering why, or what the reasoning is by not having 100% as the target.
Acting CEO to Manager Governance, try your best. Thank you.
Through the Shire President, we workshopped these targets with the management team and executive leadership team. I suppose the point of a KPI is to make it, we use the SMART objectives to make it achievable and measurable. And through the workshops, we arrived at a KPI that we thought was achievable. That's generally how we make all of our KPIs. If anyone has anything further to add?
No, crickets. All righty, that's the response. Thanks, Councillor Coleman. Have you got a follow-up question? Or?
Yes, I've got another question, thank you. On page 35, the economic development service cost is negative 296,927. Does that mean that if it's a negative cost, does that mean we're getting the money in and we're not spending anything, or we're making a profit out of that particular portfolio?
Through the chair, the figure does represent a net service cost. I don't have the breakdown of the figures in front of me though, so I'd have to take the breakdown on notice.
We'll take that one on notice, Councillor Coleman. Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No, thank you. It's moved by Councillor Dickinson, seconded by Councillor Bromham. We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? One against. Carried 7. 1. Yes. Yep, that's right. I counted you. Thank you. 12.1.6, which is the Workforce Plan 2026 through to 2030. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for the Workforce Plan? Thank you, councillors. Councillor Morley, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Morley, did you wish to say anything? Councillor Dickinson? No. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Thanks, Madam President. I did ask this question a little earlier, but I'll just ask it again. The 25-26 employee cost was 23.1. given that the text says that we're going to escalate by 5% per year, which includes 3.5% from the Walga Cost Index plus 1.5% enterprise bargaining agreement, this is actually suggesting in this page 18 that it goes up 9.05%. So just looking for an explanation of the difference, please.
Through to Manager Governance, thank
Sure,
you.
thank you, and through the Shire President. So throughout the 25-26 financial year, there were a number of positions which came on board, including the restructure and infrastructure services. I think a report was brought to council for that one in December. As part of that, there was approximately $500,000 to positions in that area. The increase is also because those positions were part funded for the financial year, whereas this year we need to budget them for the entire financial year.
Okay.
There was also some additional staffing costs for casual staff that were put on in the previous budget, which now need to be budgeted for a full financial year as well. And we had some additional allocations for CEO costs as well, plus some increased expenses in the workers' compensation area. Approximately $1 million goes towards the EBA increase, which is the 5%.
Thank you. And I note that the difference was, and when I say only, the difference was $845,000. So that in line with your explanation about full-time staff versus half the year. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Manager Governance. Are there any other questions, councillors? All right, we have a mover, Councillor Morley, seconded by Councillor Dickinson. We'll put this one to the vote for the workforce plan. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. 8-0. 12.1.7, which is the review of local laws, requires an absolute majority. We have a officer's recommendation here. May I have a mover for that, please, councillors? Thank you, Councillor Coleman. A seconder, Councillor Bromham. Councillor Coleman, did you wish to say anything?
Just a question, if I might. Unusual.
I should have asked whether he had a question. Thank you.
I know it's unusual. Okay, so on point 3 of the officer's recommendation, it says that determines the local laws be amended in accordance with. So I just want to be very clear in my mind, if I might, that we're only recommending that these be drafted and be brought back to council. We're not actually approving them today. That's correct?
Through the acting
Thank you.
CEO to manager. Oh, you've got the response in quickly. That's a yes. Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? All right. Requires an absolute majority. Moved by Councillor Coleman, seconded by Councillor Bromham. I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 8-0. Thank you. We're getting there, team. 12.1.8, delegate nominations, for the 2026 Welga AGM. I know everyone loves going to this AGM. I will be attending. We need a nomination. It's normally the Deputy Shire President, however, he's not here. Happy to put him in there, but unless there is someone else that would like to come along as the voting delegate for the AGM. Councillor Bromham. Thank you, Councillor Bromham. And I need 2 proxy voting delegates who would like. Councillor Coleman and Councillor Dickinson, I saw. Are we happy with that, Councillor Hitchcock? Yeah, Dickinson. All right, so I have the Shire President and Councillor Bromham as the voting delegates for the AGM. I have Councillor Coleman and Councillor Dickinson as the proxy voting delegates. Do I have a mover for that one? Thank you. Councillor Coleman, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Holly. Likely to be any debate. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 8-0, and I look forward to seeing you all there at the AGM. 12.2, infrastructure services is nil. 12.3, sustainable development is nil. I note that 12.4.1 and 12.4.2 have been adopted en bloc. We will now move to 12.4.3, which is the annual budget. 2026 through to 2027. There are a number of resolutions to work through here, councillors, so we will just go slowly and work our way through. I will now deal with recommendation 1 of 10, correct, which deals with basically the sitting fees and allowances and superannuation. Councillors, do I have a mover to deal with this recommendation? Councillor Coleman, thank you. Seconded by Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Coleman, did you wish to speak to this one?
Only to recognise that out of the band of dollar value that we're allowed to set under the state administrative tribunal, well, I know we're at the lower end, so I think this is a fair and reasonable for the amount of time that we put in.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor McCarthy is the seconder.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Thank you. Any further debate in relation to this one, councillors? No, we'll put this one to the vote requiring absolute majority. All those in favour? That has been carried 8-0, absolute majority. Thank you. We'll move into the officer's recommendation 2 of 10. This also requires an absolute majority. Do I have a mover in relation to this item? Councillor Bromham, and I'm happy to second Councillor Dickinson. Thank you. All right, I'm sure there's going to be some discussion around this one, councillors. So, Councillor Bromham, did you wish to start as the mover? Thank you.
Yeah, I think rating is an interesting issue because people talk about it as though it's something that we can't do. Obviously, there's a lot of things that our ratepayers want, and we have to have the money in the bank basically to pay for it all. When you cut rates and you don't rate at the necessary level, what we actually do in effect is we pass on that debt to the future, because maintenance has to be carried out, roads have to be built, bridges have to be kept up to scratch. All those things need to be done. So it's so important to ensure, even though sometimes not popular, that we rate at the correct rate to allow us to provide and maintain our services to the public at the level that they would like.
Councillor Dickinson as the seconder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do want to acknowledge staff and all the hard work that they've put into the budget, and also the acknowledgement of the recommendations that were made to staff during the workshops that councillors held. There was a lot of discussion in those workshops of what to include and what to take out of the budget, what is mandatory expenditure, what is discretionary expenditure, and our commitments ongoing to our community. We do have a pretty unique local government here in that it is a large local government with an awful lot of roads, with facilities of varying ages, from whether it's halls, swimming pools, recreation grounds. They all need to be upkept and maintained to a standard. And I think that the adoption of the budget will give us the funding that is required, but I would also like to acknowledge that we are in uncertain times at the moment. We don't know what's going to be happening internationally, and that does affect the costs of delivery for our local government, especially the cost of fuel. We are not immune to those costs, and the electricity costs that also are charged to the local government. It's probably a lot of things that the community are not aware of that we actually have to cover. And I believe that we can deliver a reasonable level of service that our community require with this budget that we're about to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? A speaker for? Councillor McCarthy.
Yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge that we've had several workshops trying to get our budget down as much as we can, while still providing some services that are not mandatory to the public, and also to remind all our ratepayers that all of us councillors are also ratepayers too, so we're going to have to pay this as well. I did note that the CPI this year is actually 4.6. It was 3.5 last year. And that when you look up at those, that's through the ABS, when we look at the individual costs and CPI, some of the biggest ones of those are transport at 8.8%, fuel at 7.7%, and the maintenance and repairs on vehicles at 6.3%. And our workforce has we're not all in an office. Our trucks and our vehicles need to be moving around to repair roads, etc. So we need to be able to accommodate some of those expenses, provide some services that the public are wanting to have, our playgrounds and all the rest that we all want, and have had to look at how we could cut it and minimise it as much as we can, and I think we've done a fairly good job on that.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Is there a speaker against? A speaker for? Councillor Coleman. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. I just wanted to acknowledge that, first and foremost, I'm a pensioner, so I feel it. I feel the rates. I really do. But we've got an ageing infrastructure, Harvey through to Australind, to Leisure Rowlands and all of our towns. The fact that we've got 51% in Australind belies the fact that it's not a new suburb without cost involved. We have many ageing infrastructure, and not the least is the Harvey pool that we see, but also the Leisure Centre. And I just want to acknowledge that this particular group of councillors that we have on board and the particular group of staffing in the Shire at the moment are getting better and better at identifying opportunities for cost savings. And that takes time. That takes many, many months to identify, flesh out and have good governance and due diligence on cost-saving issues and opportunities for us. So the budget that we see today, will, just by necessity, be very different to next year. But I think we need to help the community understand that the decisions that we make have been many months in the making, and I know that some of the decisions that are going to come forward to council will take over 6 months to flesh out, to identify opportunities going forward that'll benefit all of us. It'll benefit the ratepayers. It'll certainly benefit us as councillors in making decisions and so on. So, I do commend the staff that are working on these budgets. They work very hard, and councillors have made some pretty strong decisions in removing a number of expenses that were discretionary out of this budget before it's come to this point. So I do support the budget. I do acknowledge that it is going to be tough, and I'll feel it as much as anybody else. But I do want to acknowledge that the work is ongoing. It doesn't stop, and it takes many, many months to get to these decisions and ongoing decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Speaker against? Speaker for, Councillor Morley.
Thank you, Madam President. My commentary is to our community. I just want them to be reassured that we, the council, scrutinise the budget. Every significant expenditure was questioned, and it wasn't just simply accepted. We reduced where we could responsibly do so. There was a number of things deferred or removed and savings identified before we considered the final rate. We protected essential services in roads and parks and community facilities. Our regulatory services and asset renewals can't simply be stopped without some consequences. And as councillors and council, we must remain financially responsible. Deferring expenditure indefinitely or relying on reserves and debt to fund day-to-day operations only shifts a burden to future ratepayers, hence Councillor Bromham's commentary. However, I would really like to acknowledge the concern of our residents and not give the impression that we dismiss them. I understand many households and businesses are under financial pressure. Those concerns are genuine and were front of my mind throughout our deliberations. And the fact that Council did consider every reasonable opportunity to reduce expenditure before settling on this budget gives me, as a first-timer in this process, confidence that this is a responsible decision, even though, for me personally, and I'm sure for other councillors, it wasn't an easy one. So I support the rate rise.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Any speaker against? Any further speakers for? Listen, I think as I'll speak for, of course, and I just want to acknowledge the efforts of our staff, in particular Mr. Chopra, Mr. Winter, and all the directors, and of course the CEO and our acting CEO in working through, and as Councillor Morley rightly said, it was done through a number of workshops and literally line by line and over a period of time. So I thank you, and I thank the elected members, because this is not an easy decision to make, particularly when there is a lot of commentary from the community around the proposed 7%. And supporting a rate increase of this nature is never an easy decision, as Councillor Morley has said, for all of us as elected members. Every dollar matters, and as elected members, we have the responsibility to ensure we are asking our residents and our ratepayers to contribute only what we consider is necessary. And equally important, to ensure that this council remains financially responsible, protects the assets that are entrusted to us and plans for the future, rather than simply reacting to the challenges of today. And I think it's been raised before, but we also cannot lose sight of our existing assets, and we've had many conversations about our asset management moving forward. And I think Councillor Bromham raised this. Deferring maintenance may provide that short-term savings, but history shows it only creates larger costs for our future ratepayers. So responsible asset management means maintaining what we have today, so that our future generations are not burdened with avoidable and significant higher costs. So I'm certainly very cognisant, and as Councillor Morley said, front of mind in relation to our cost of living pressures, but they are not dissimilar to what we are experiencing in delivering the services and the infrastructure that our community expects us to deliver. So I endorse the annual budget as it has been presented today. Councillor Holly, do you wish to speak for?
Thank you, Madam President. I was just going to say, we hear a lot of rumours about budgets and those sorts of things. Unfortunately, the Shire is not a bottomless pit that a lot of people think. And as everyone has said, we don't take it lightly. Line by line, we go through it, as we say. And we don't put it up by 7% just for the sake of plucking a number out. You know, no one wants to pay extra, but, you know, it's not a bottomless pit, and we do have to take care of everyone's money that paying rates.
Thank you, Councillor Holly. I gather you're speaking for, yes. Thank you, thank you. All right, is there any further discussion, councillors? Who moved this one? Councillor Bromham, did you want to sum up at all as the mover?
Thank you, councillors, for your input. I think it's great, and staff. Obviously, we've worked very hard on this budget to get this outcome. I'd like to thank the President for her words and wisdom in relation to making sure we don't pass on debts to our young people in the future, and that we maintain our assets at a high level. And I think too, that's important to understand that we do think about the people out there and their money that they're in. I mean, I'm a pensioner as well, so it's not an easy day, but in the end, we sometimes have to make hard decisions because that's what good governance is about. Thank you.
Thank you for summing up, Councillor Bromham. We need an absolute majority in relation to this one, councillors, so I shall put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried by absolute majority, 8-0. Thank you. I'll now move to Officer's Recommendation 3 of 10. Requires a absolute majority, and this is dealing with the general rates and specified area rates. Do I have a mover for this one? Thank you, Councillor Morley. Thank you.
May I ask a question before
I'll
we...
just get a seconder, then
Yep,
I'll get
sorry,
a...
yeah.
Are you moving it, Councillor Morley?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Holly. Councillor Morley, over to you.
Just a question. I have a message from a constituent who asks, can we substantiate what evidence, with evidence why the special area rates must be increased by 7%? And the commentary goes on further to say, if it is from new contract awards, then these need to go through an internal review, as 7% is too much. It's a question that
That's
I
your
think,
question, Councillor
yes,
Morley?
please. Thank you.
Acting CEO through to Mr Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. The specified area rates have been based on a 7% increase. The reason for that is we currently have a contract with a contractor that provides the landscape maintenance for those areas. That contract has gone for a number of years. For, I think, 3 of those years at least, there was only a CPI increase. That contract terminated at 30 June, so it was up for renewal. And so Council's going through that process of looking for or going out to tender. I believe we've been able to secure an additional 6 months with that contract, or I could be corrected on that. However, to be able to provide for the additional cost that we anticipate in that contract, we've increased the rate by that 7%, knowing full well that if we don't require those full funds for paying that contractor and for the works on those areas, those unspent allocations will then go back into reserve, which have to be held specifically for those areas. So if obviously better to have more money than not enough, and so we have budgeted for what we believe we will require for those contracts, and then if we don't need the full allocation, they will be held specifically for those areas from which those specified area rates have come from.
Thank you, Mr Winter. As the mover, Councillor Morley, did you want to say anything?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Holly as the seconder. Any questions? Councillor Bromham.
Just to verify, when you talk about special area rates, I believe even though they pay special area rates, it is subsidised as well from Shire funds, and also it does not include the maintenance of plant that supports some of the infrastructure that actually waters the grass and does things like that for them.
Through to Mr Winter again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Madam President. You're quite correct, Councillor. There's additional allocations that the Shire makes in those areas. It is subsidised quite heavily by the Shire's, the maintenance of those areas is subsidised quite heavily by Shire's general rates. And then there is also allocations, for example, a replacement of a bore for the provision of water in that area. If that fails, then historically Council has paid for that out of its plant reserve or from its general rates as well. So you're quite right, Councillor.
Councillor Coleman, question?
Thanks, Madam President. Just a question, if I may, and I may be wrong. You know, it has been done before. We talk about rate increases a lot throughout the whole community, whether you're council staff, residents, ratepayers, etc. My understanding, and I'm happy to be corrected, my understanding is that the Shire of Harvey, despite it being so large and so diverse, the actual rate that we charge is actually one of the lowest in the local areas, which stands us in good stead. As much as we all hate rate rises, we all do. My understanding is that around our in the southwest here, we are one of the lowest in rates. Would that be correct?
Mr Winter, and I referring to the minimum rate.
Thank you, through you, Madam President. It relates to both the minimum and the general rate. So looking at our neighbours, specifically to the south, across the river, we do, our rates are quite favourable compared to theirs. They are lower. When you're looking at the minimum rate, they're substantially lower. So as a shire, we do provide a very cost-effective service, if you want, compared to what some of our neighbouring local governments may do. Obviously, all local governments have different constraints, so really just relating to where we are. But yes, we do compare favourably compared to other local governments.
Thanks, Mr Winter, because it's quite easy to get, for me, it's quite easy to get a bit distracted with rate rises in other local governments and do a comparison. But I was doing some research and found that we looked like we were lower than the rest overall. So thank you for the confirmation.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, we require an absolute majority. It's been moved by Councillor Morley, seconded by Councillor Holly. We shall put this one to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? That is carried 8-0, absolute majority. Thank you. We are getting there. Officer's recommendation 4 of 10 deals with waste avoidance. We have a officer's recommendation here that requires an absolute majority. I'll state that there is no increase here from the previous budget. Do I have a mover for this one? Thank you. Councillor Coleman, thank you. Seconder, Councillor McCarthy. Is there likely to be any discussion around this one? Councillors? No, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried absolute majority, 8-0. Thank you. I am now up to Officer's recommendation 5 of 10. Requires an absolute majority as well. Do I have a mover for this one? Thanks, councillors. Councillor Bromham, thank you. A seconder, Councillor McCarthy. Any discussion, Councillor Bromham?
No, waste is always an issue. We have a big issue with a growing community, and we need to have facilities to do this. It's just a cost. In the metropolitan area, they have a much larger cost than this. So I think, we just need to make sure that we deal with our waste in a proactive manner.
Okay, yes. I think Councillor Bromham may have been speaking to the previous recommendation. So this one is to deal with the interest and the like, and the administration charges, instalments.
Yeah.
It does include rubbish, yes, but this is to deal with the rubbish and the instalment administration charges. So,
yeah, well, all prices go up, so there's no way we can't type of manage it this way, and obviously we keep costs to the minimum if we can.
Thank you. Councillor McCarthy, did you wish to speak as the seconder?
Just yes, that I agree that this one is in relation to delayed payment, non-payment, so following that up and the administration charges off.
Thank you. Is there any other speakers? Yes, Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, just a query. If it's for charges outstanding as at 30th of June 2026, that relates to last year's rates, yeah? Okay.
I nodded because I saw what you were saying, but I'm going to get clarification from Mr Winter. Mr Winter? Who's looking for someone in the gallery? Ah, Emma, welcome.
Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the chance to answer that question. So you were saying that the my brain.
The outstanding charges as at
Yes.
June 26 are for last year, aren't they?
Yes,
Yep.
if you're talking about any outstanding balance that's at 1 July 26, then yes, they would be, as we haven't struck any rates at all at the moment. And then these charges would apply after due dates, after instalment due dates, and those types of things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions while Emma's there? No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Bromham has moved, Councillor McCarthy has seconded, requires an absolute majority. We shall put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 8-0, absolute majority. Thank you. Officer's recommendation 6 of 10 deals with the schedule of fees and charges. Requires an absolute majority. Do I have a mover for this one? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. A seconder? Councillor Dickinson. Councillor McCarthy, did you wish to speak to this one?
Only to say that these charges have come about after a full day's workshop that all of the council participated in, and just trying to keep any increases to minimise to cover costs that were actually incurred.
Councillor Dickinson? Any questions or further debate, councillors? I'll put this one to the vote. Requires absolute majority. All those in favour? That is carried. 8-0, absolute majority. Thank you. Officer's recommendation 7 of 10. This is to deal with the transfer of funds to various reserves. As detailed, requires an absolute majority. Do I have a mover for this one? Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. A seconder, Councillor Hitchcock. Likely to be any debate around these ones? Okay, we will put that one to the vote. All those in favour? That has been carried by absolute majority, 8-0. Thank you. Recommendation 8 of 10. This is to deal with pensioners that will be exempt from being charged the interest charge on deferred rates, current rates and current rubbish rates or charges. There's a number of councillors that fit into this one.
We don't have to declare an interest, do we?
I'm going to seek advice on
Okay.
that one.
No,
Acting CEO says no.
No, through the chair, you don't have to declare an interest on that
All
one
right.
because of the nature of the decision.
Okay, thank you, because there'd probably be a couple of us that fit into this one.
Exemptions for you on that one.
Exemptions, thank you. Do I have a mover for this one then, who's not a pensioner? No, I'm only joking. Councillor Hitchcock, showing off your age there, thank you, and Councillor McCarthy. Likely to be any discussion? Councillor Holly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering, is it old age pension only, or is it invalids and disabled and those sorts of things? Close to my heart.
Acting CEO, Mr Winter. Mr Winter?
Chair, my understanding is if you hold
Sorry.
if you hold a specific pension card or aged pension card, I think that you're eligible for that.
All right, Emma, is that a yes?
Yeah, there are various, you will, if you have a disability pension, if you have single parenting, any pension card should get you a rebate. It doesn't go for Veterans Affairs, but state concession cards, Commonwealth Seniors Healthcare cards and seniors cards combined will get you the same as a pension card, and seniors cards alone will get you a smaller rebate.
Councillor Coleman, question?
Yes, thanks, Madam President. So, Veterans Affairs, just out of curiosity, because you mentioned it, so their gold card, they don't get a pension, they don't get the rebate?
Unfortunately, no.
Why is
so
that?
that is covered under, they're all decided, I guess, by Revenue WA, not a decision by council, by any council. It is just that is the way they are. If you are Veterans Affairs, you can sometimes qualify for a pension, so you can have the two cards and that will get you a rebate. But if you only qualify for a gold card, and I believe it's because of the eligibility criteria is different. Some are means required and some are not. So it would need to be a pension card. Wow. Yeah.
I think the poor veterans are being discriminated against. However, yes, it is what it is. I see Nola nodding up there. Okay. Any other questions for Emma while she's there? No. Thank you. Answer your question, Councillor Holly. Happy? It's been moved by Councillor Hitchcock, seconded by Councillor McCarthy. Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That has carried 8-0. Thank you. Officer's recommendation 9 of 10, which deals with the instalment costs and administration processing fees. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Holly, thank you. Seconded, Councillor McCarthy. Likely to be any discussion around this one, councillors? No, we shall put that one to the vote. All those in favour? This is carried 8-0. Thank you. We are nearly there, councillors. Well done. Recommendation 10 of 10 deals with the materiality variance. Do I have a mover for this one? Thank you, councillors. McCarthy, thank you. Seconded by councillor Bromham. I think I saw your hand up. Thank you. Likely to be any? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. This went up from 10,000 to 30,000 a couple of years ago. I'm just wondering why, because it seems that we could have 3 lots of $29,999 and it comes out at nearly $100,000 without it being a material variance. So just wondering why it went from 10,000 up to 30,000 at the time.
Okay, through the acting CEO to Mr. Winter. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. It went up because it had been on the 10,000 for quite a while, and just with indexing of CPI at the time, it was more favourable to change it to 30,000. If it was at 10,000, the number of items that we would report on at budget review would be numerous. It is definitely council's opportunity to change that to 10,000 if they wish, but at the time it was simply because it costs $30,000, well, $10,000 was what it used to be, sort of thing.
Councillor Coleman.
Just a follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Winter. When you're talking numerous things coming to council for the review, what are we talking? Are we talking obviously more than half a dozen, but how many is numerous compared to 10,000 to 30,000? Just rough.
I would only be guessing through you, Madam President, but when we provided the budget review, we highlighted all the areas that were over 30,000, and then the ones that were smaller amounts, we did actually, where we thought that they were of noteworthy or interest to council, we actually flagged those as well. I'm assuming maybe 40, 50, something like that. Looking for a little bit of a nod behind you from our Manager of Finance, but I think that's roughly what it was, something like that.
So thanks, Mr. Winter. What I think you just clarified is that staff are working with council to identify any variances really anyway, irrespective of this amount. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. The other thing is we do have a policy that deals with materiality. We're required to annually adopt an amount which is compliant with the financial management regs. However, we also include in there the other side of it, which is if something is noteworthy or going to influence decision making of council, then we provide that as well. So if there's areas that we think, even though they may not be 30,000, if there's a number of smaller items, we typically highlight that to council as well.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. Are there any other questions, councillors? Okay, this one's been moved by Councillor McCarthy, seconded by Councillor Bromham. We shall put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That has been carried 8-0. Thank you, councillors, for working through that one. We will now move on to item 12.4.4, which deals with the Corporate Services Policy Review 2026. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Coleman. Right, I'd like to move an amendment to this one, councillors, if I can, and well, I can. It's up there on the screen, and it's part 3, which deals with requesting the acting CEO to present the amended policy 2.2.2 financial hardship policy to council for consideration and endorsement at the ordinary council meeting to be held in August 2026. So I wish to move that amendment. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bromham, thank you. I'll speak to that amendment. This is I see this hardship, financial hardship policy, probably one of the most important policies that council adopts, and we have heard from the community about cost of living hardships and the like. So having just endorsed the budget, I think it's important that we have this policy reviewed and in place sooner rather than later, in case our community wishes to or has a need to for it to be applied. So I ask council to support this amendment and look forward to this policy coming to the ordinary council meeting in August or next month. Councillor Bromham, as the seconder to the amendment, did you wish to say anything?
Only to agree with Madam President. It's so important to look at the impacts of this on our community and to give those people that are truly in hardship an avenue that they can utilise to alleviate some of the financial pain they might be under.
Are there any other speakers for or against this amendment? Councillor Holly?
Yes, I'd like to speak for it. Having been in a decision, the situation where finances are lacking compared to previous years before my legs fell off. It's one of those things that the Shire have been tremendous about, and I fully support it for the right reasons.
Thank you, Councillor Holly. Any other speakers for or against? All right, I shall put this amendment to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried 8-0, and we'll make part of that substantive motion now. Thank you, minute taker. So, Councillor Dickinson, as the mover of the substantive motion now, did you wish to speak?
Thank you, and I commend you, Shire President, for bringing this proposal with the amendment forward. I think that this just provides a bit of a safeguard for those in the community that are impacted, and you know they don't like to make their financial position known or anything, but this is just an avenue that can be quietly put into place where they can access the benefit of it. So I commend you and are happy to support the substantive motion.
Thank you. Councillor Coleman is the seconder.
No,
I have
but
it down here as
I have
the
some
seconder.
questions.
Oh, sorry. Yep, go ahead.
I've got some questions about a few of the policies. Just
Yep.
okay. So on 2.1.2, the video surveillance, we're talking about locations identified by the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Advisory Group. What about councillors and staff that are out there more often than that particular group? Can we just add them in as an administrative addition? Because I think staff are in the position to see a lot more of it, and councillors as well, travelling around, would be able to identify areas of perhaps concern.
Acting CEO, are you able to respond or through to?
I might make a first pass at it, and Mr.
Thank you.
Winter might have something added as well. Obviously, there'd be, and if there's any recommendations, that's something we can certainly refer to that working group as well, and certainly take the point that that's quite valid about the staff and the councillors noticing areas that might need attention. But happy to, if there's anything further from Mr. Winter there.
Mr. Winter, did you want to add anything further?
Madam President, I guess that was the intent, that they would, the locations would come from multiple venue or people, whether it was staff, council or the like, and they would be prioritised by that group. Happy to add it, but up to council.
I'll just seek governance advice. Is that a simple administrative change to that policy?
Through the chair, we would just change the recommendation to as amended policy number 2 and capture that change.
Okay, so that will be captured. Thank you. Next question, Councillor Coleman.
Okay, the 2.2.1, we talk about investment advisors, which are very relevant. And I'm just querying, do we actually need to use investment advisors for our investments as a shire, or do we have the expertise within staff? It's not clarified, and it certainly doesn't need to be. It's purely a question of, do we actually need to use investment advisors to get the best bang for our buck?
Acting CEO, through to Mr. Winter. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. We currently don't pay for investment advice. We do receive some investment advice that comes from banking brokers, if you like, and then staff actually make that determination in-house. So we rely on in-house expertise, but it's good to have that in the policy as well.
Madam President, I noticed throughout the policies, some of the wording says elected members, some of the wording says councillors. I'm just wondering, as an administrative tweak, could we just make it consistent?
Consistency.
Without much change?
Yep. Acting CEO.
Through the chair, it should be elected members because you're not a councillor, Madam Chair. Madam President.
Elected members, we will make that change so it's consistent. So that'll be captured in point 2.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
A query, if I may, on the depreciation of non-current assets. I'm not worrying about the depreciation per se, but for example, buildings we talk about 30 to 100 years. Our bridges we talk about 137 years, and given the state and the issues we have around bridges in our shire, parks and ovals is 100 years and drainage is 80 years. I'm just wondering, given the changing nature of those particular things, you know, buildings we can see, but drainage and ovals and bridges in particular seems an extraordinary amount of time, 137 years. So just seeking some comment on why there's such a big difference across those ranges.
And maybe Quarter Corp likes the 137
It could be too,
years
yep.
for bridges, but Acting CEO.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. My understanding, and I might need to check with obviously Mr. Winter on this one, is that generally the life of the assets are determined either by Public Works Engineer's Guide. I'm not sure if that's how it's done here, Mr. Winter, but that's something that's generally guided around what the general life of the asset is to be. So I'm happy if Mr. Winter wanted to add any more to that.
That's correct. They are also consistent with the valuations that we receive, independent valuations that occur probably every 3 to 5 years. They used to be 3 years, now they're typically 5 years. You'll find there's also a disparity of some of the assets that we have. For example, you know, a structure you would think maybe would have a life of 60 or 70 years, but then you have the communication tower that we have in Australind next to the administration office that has a life of 300 years. So there is a disparity between the individual assets, but as you've received, that's really the information that we have.
Okay.
If we do, obviously we're audited by independent auditors in the Office of Auditor General. If they feel that any of our depreciation or capitalisation figures are incorrect or should be revisited, they let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I have a question. On similar lines, I was at a meeting yesterday at the Regional Road Group in relation to bridges, and we know that Water Corporation now have about 1,500 bridges without the state that needs maintenance. And what the state has been doing to the date is an evaluation, as they call it, of the assets that they actually own. But this doesn't give you a whole of life cost or the money in the bank in a reserve to repair or maintain these things into the standard that they were originally. So I think this is a problem government-wide, federal, state, everywhere, that needs to be addressed. So I think when we look at our evaluation of assets, and I think Councillor Coleman is quite right in asking the question and saying, how do we measure these things, and how do we ensure that they are up to scratch all throughout their life to provide us the service that they're meant to provide. So I would ask, I just wonder whether, as we go through our asset management plan, which I know is coming up, that we can address this.
So is there a question in there?
I'm asking, can we address this in our asset management plan?
Thank you. Acting CEO.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, is the answer, but I'll add some more to it as well, Councillor Bromham. The good thing that you're seeing is the investment that particularly the council and this Shire has made in asset management and actually getting behind that to support. Asset condition is the other point that needs to be highlighted, is that while it might be a life, if the asset condition is very, very poor, then obviously it's got a reduced life. So making sure we're keeping on top of that asset maintenance, and as you mentioned before in your previous debate, Councillor Bromham, is that is critical in making sure we're not passing on future burden to ratepayers. Yep.
All righty. Any other questions, councillors? Summing up, councillor. Yep, nearly. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know it's only a small amount, but just wondering on policy 2.2.10, discretionary donations are provided for the purpose of meeting any unbudgeted requests by the CEO. So is there a limit to the $1,000 that the CEO can give out to unbudgeted requests? Because that's something that, as councillors, we could be very well challenged by. So just querying the need for that rather than going through the normal process. And what's the limit? So is it 20 lots of $1,000 in a financial year? Is it 50? Is it 10? You know, where are we at?
Through to Mr. You're going to take that one on?
I'll give that a go. And Mr. Winter, so they could vary. So obviously, depending on what the approach is from, whether it's a community organisation, a charitable organisation, it could vary. Obviously, having the amount of money able to be provided needs to be in a budget line item, but it could vary. Unlikely to take up all of it in one donation, though. Yeah.
Mr. Winter, can you add further?
Thank you, Madam President. There is an allocation of $22,000 in the budget for presentations and donations. A part of that allocation is used for those donations. It is handy to have on hand at different times if either the Shire President or an elected member or a CEO needs to do a presentation at a school graduation or something like that. They're able to actually use those funds for that. So it is very handy. It is used, but there is a finite limit and it's included in the budget.
Thanks, Mr. Winter. And I think my last one, Madam President.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Councillor
In the
Coleman.
Corporate Services Policy 12.4.4, the CEO would determine the credit card amount up to $20,000. So a couple of queries. Potentially, and the query is, so how many directors and including the CEO would have a $20,000 card? That's potentially $100,000. And what are the checks and balances if, when it comes to council, we go, well, that shouldn't have been paid for? What happens then?
Acting CEO.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. The 20,000, only the 20,000 one I think is proposed for the CEO. I think was the one there. What we're finding is that we are now having a lot of suppliers that will only accept credit card payments instead of purchase orders because of the instant payment, etc. So, and the way that we're purchasing now is encouraging a lot more online activity around how we purchase. So that was the reason for one of the ups as well. There's 4 directors and 1 CEO, so they're the ones that would have the credit cards. And I think we've got a capped limit on the total amount that's going out as well from it. I've taken that off, okay, so up to $20,000. What you might find is that some particular directors have to undertake those sorts of purchases quite regularly. So, and that's usually in the infrastructure services area or parks and gardens, where some of those parts and things are actually becoming quite an increased price that require card payments instead of purchase orders, or they won't accept purchase orders. Yep.
And just to confirm, all of those payments come to us on a monthly basis, don't they? Irrespective of whether it's $20 or whether it's 20,000. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we see the credit card transactions.
Every transaction.
Yep. Any other questions, councillors? All right, we have a mover here, Councillor Dickinson, seconded by Councillor Coleman. Whether she realised it or not, but she must have put her hand up because I wrote your name down. Thank you. Let's put this one to the vote. Thanks, councillors. All those in favour? Thank you. That is carried 8-0. All righty, we will now move to 12.5.2, which is the Shire of Harvey Community Grant Program for 2026. And Councillor Coleman has an alternate motion. Would you like to put that forward? Thanks, Councillor Coleman. Thank you. So, Councillor Coleman, would you like to just identify the changes, and then I'll ask for a seconder if you're happy with that? Thank you.
Sure. The changes are the $20,000 for the Shire of Harvey, the grant to the Shire of Harvey for the Yarloop program workshop site was going to be deferred. I suggest be deferred to budget, and the Brunswick Agricultural Society received their request for $30,000 for their this is not in my written thing here, for their request, knowing that $50,000 is going to be foregone for the kitchen.
Councillors, so it's deferring the funding out of the Alcoa Harvey Sustainability Fund for the interpretive signage at the Yarloop workshop site of $20,000 and deferring that to the budget, and including Brunswick Ag Society's request for 30,000, was it?
For an increased cash, a cash increase to $30,000.
Oh.
So it's an increased cash increase of $14,250 to give them the $30,000.
Yep.
Knowing that the $50,000 grant for the kitchen upgrade will lapse and not proceed. So we end up in a net position.
All right, does everyone understand those changes? So do I have a seconder for this alternate motion? Can I get a seconder first, and then you second it, Councillor Dickinson? Thank you. All right, I'm going to let your question, and then we'll come back to you, Councillor Coleman.
So I was just seeking clarification that if we could just go back to the Yarloop signage, Yarloop workshop signage. So the funding for that was coming up. What was the source of that? And I just wanted to clarify that this proposal would be allowed it meets all requirements.
So, Councillor Coleman, my understanding is the question is the additional $14,250 for the Brunswick Ag Society would be funded from where, Councillor Coleman?
It would be funded from the budget, given that the $50,000 grant that's been allocated to them will be nullified.
Councillor Dickinson?
So the 50,000 was, and I'm just seeking clarification to make sure I've got this clear. That was awarded in the last financial year as part of the Alcoa Sustainability grant process, was it? I'm just wondering if it is the Shire's grant funding money or if it's Alcoa's grant funding money. So
All right.
just seeking clarification on that.
Through the Acting CEO to Ms Hazelhurst.
Certainly, thank you, Madam President. So the Alcoa Sustainability Fund money is only related to the Yalu Workshops signage project that was intended for the Alcoa Harvey Sustainability Fund to fund that project. The increase for the Brunswick Agricultural Society, I think Councillor Coleman is intending that Council agrees that the kitchen upgrades that were approved last year from the Shire's community funding round, not the Alcoa Sustainability Fund, would not proceed, and that money could be used to provide the increase to the Harvey Ag Society for their operations.
Thank you, because I just wanted to seek clarification that the Alcoa Sustainability Fund was more for infrastructure type projects, and there were guidelines as to how that could be applied for, and I was just making sure that we did not go outside the guidelines.
Okay, Councillor Coleman, as the mover, would you like to speak to this item? Thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. So the Brunswick Agricultural Society delivers significant long-term economic and social benefits to the wider Shire of Harvey through the annual Brunswick Show. Establishing a formal ongoing $30,000 annual cash partnership provides the Society with funding security to maintain operational capacity. This model explicitly aligns with the existing successful Shire frameworks, mirroring the Lot 208 Australian Cash Partnership of $80,000 for staffing and programs, and the Harvey Harvest Festival Partnership via Harvey Main Street, approximately $30,000 for their festival coordinator. Rather than creating a dangerous precedent, this decision standardises community event support across the district. The alternative framework represents a responsible and disciplined approach to municipal fund management. By recognising that the $50,000 kitchen upgrade grant will lapse and not proceed, Council achieves an immediate capital saving. Combined with the shifting $20,000 of the Yalu Workshops interpretive signage project into the upcoming budget, Council successfully offsets the immediate cost of the $14,250 cash increase, securing a positive net financial outcome for the current funding pool. And that current net funding across the two is $15,250. Standard protocol dictates that local government internal projects undergo rigorous competitive scrutiny with the standard annual budget process rather than drawing from community allocated grant funds. When the Shire accesses community-faced grant programs such as the Alcoa Harvey Sustainability Fund to finance its own internal initiatives, it can create a distinct and damaging perception that within the wider community that the Shire is competing directly against other community groups. Moving the Shire's project to the 26-27 budget process ensures total transparency, preserves public trust and prioritises available grant funds for dedicated community organisations.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Dickinson, you've got a question, Councillor McCarthy, and then I'll come to Councillor Dickinson as the seconder.
Yes, sorry, just to clarify and on a little bit from what Councillor Dickinson said. So we're looking at the Yalu Workshop signage, which is coming off from the Alcoa Sustainability. It can't be used for anywhere else. It's not going to go into a grant fund pot. So that money, if not used, would go back to the Alcoa Sustainability Fund and just not be used. And that project just wouldn't happen until next budget. If we're putting back the 50,000 that was part of a grant that the Brunswick Ag Society had last year, would that 50,000 not be covering a suggested 30,000 partnership that we're increasing that to 30,000? I guess what I'm asking is, do we have to put the Yarloop workshop grant fund back when it actually can't be used for the Brunswick Ag Society?
Through to Ms Hazelhurst. Thank you.
Thank you,
I was
Madam.
trying to keep tabs of.
Thank you, Madam President. You're correct in that if the Alcoa Harvey Sustainability Fund does not fund the Yarloop Workshops signage project, then all that will happen is we will take $20,000 less from the Alcoa Sustainability Fund. That cannot be used for the Brunswick Agricultural Society request. You're quite right. The Yarloop Workshops project was assessed by the assessment panel, which has council representative, community representatives and representatives from Alcoa, and it was unanimously supported at the assessment panel. So I think that answers your question, Councillor McCarthy.
Just so for clarification, budget-wise, we've already budgeted for Alcoa Sustainability, or Alcoa Funding has. If the 50,000 that was budgeted for last year, which hasn't been used, is returned and is not used for the kitchen, then that funding could be utilised for the increase in the partnership with Brunswick Ag Society to cover.
In the first year or the second year, yes, but I think the President made it clear that they were seeking ongoing funding.
Councillor Dickinson is the second, and then I'll. Yes, let me deal with Councillor Dickinson first as the second.
I have a question.
Question, yes.
So if council will support this alternate motion, would it be reviewed, the current partnership agreement be reviewed within a year as part of this, or would that just be reviewed when it's up for renewal and we could potentially be asked again next year for additional funding if it hasn't gone through a review process?
Amani, would you like to have a go at that one?
Welcome, Amani. Could you just turn your microphone on? Beautiful.
Okay. Thank you, and through the chair. So there is grant guidelines and policies and procedures around the administration of the grant program. So taking the infrastructure category, that's where the $50,000 originated from, and it came through as an EOI process. So pushing, the partnerships are they stand alone. So we've got 4, and we are working through a process where the Shire catches up with those community groups on a 12-monthly basis to see how it's progressing. It's a mutual relationship. If there's a variation that they require, they will come through the grant process and it will come to council for council to make that decision. So there is an ongoing dialogue with the community group to see how they are travelling with their partnerships and whether what's working, there are in-kind components, there are cash components to it, and to make it fair and equitable across the board for all the 4 partnerships, or all the 10 partnerships, if we're looking at all of them, they get reviewed annually and have that discussion, that dialogue, and it comes to council for council to make that decision. So hopefully that answers.
A follow-up question, or are you going to speak as the
I
seconder?
have a follow-up question.
Thank you.
So as part that 12-monthly review, that would be, could you tell me when that would take place, please?
Yes, so at the moment we have 6 existing 5-year partnerships which are coming up to their 5th year at the end of June 2027, and we have 4 new partnerships, 3-year partnerships, which are only in their first year. And so what we are looking at doing is meeting with those 5-year partnership community groups by the end of September, so that we can bring a report to council, and anything that they raise, any variations or any, we can bring that to council and the decision is made. The 3-year partnerships, which are in their first year, we will catch up with them as well, and we'll bring that to council if they have any variations also in that September round. But we've only just negotiated those partnerships, and they seem to be like they're very new. There's no they've come through the grant program, and they've been assessed by the panel and gone to council. So unless they need a variation in their first year, they would come again to council.
Follow-up question, Councillor Dickinson.
So because there's going to be a review and you're meeting with the partnerships in September, that would possibly be the time where, if this alternate motion wasn't endorsed, that could be presented and considered in that process in September, and then come back to council for consideration.
Yes, through the chair. So that is absolutely correct, because that would be a variation to their 3-year partnership, and that's how it would. That's how the variation would come through. It's to ensure the process is equitable and fair. Otherwise, we would have all 9 community partnerships coming outside of the grant process, requesting for variations, which would not make it transparent or equitable for all 10 partnerships.
Councillor Coleman, you have a question.
I do, thank you. So does the guidelines specifically allow the Alcoa Sustainability Fund to fund the Shire? Number 1. And number 2, why was the grant not apportioned to the Yarloop Workshops Committee with checks and balances to make sure it went to the signage?
Okay, thank you. Through the chair. So the Alcoa Sustainability Fund has an advisory group that sits on the panel, and it is made up of community groups, of 2 community representatives, 2 Alcoa representatives, the Shire President and Shire senior staff, and that is how it is assessed.
Sorry, so do the guidelines allow that fund to fund the Shire? Because the issue for me is that not where it's going and not the amount, but the Alcoa Sustainability Fund is funding Harvey Shire, not the Yarloop Workshops Committee.
I might just go through to Ms Hazelhurst just to address that one. Thanks, Ms Hazelhurst.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, the short answer is yes. In the past, the Alcoa Sustainability Fund has contributed to the golf club extension, the Harvey Bulls change rooms, the Binning Up Skate Park, and what was the last one? Harvey All Abilities Playground. So there have been allocations in the past, and I will add that Shire of Waroona also has an Alcoa Sustainability Fund agreement with Alcoa, and they often will earmark a portion of that allocation each year for Shire-specific funds. So Alcoa certainly does not have an issue with it, and we have historically funded projects through the Alcoa Sustainability Fund.
Question, Councillor Hitchcock.
A couple of questions, well, all rolled into one. Sorry.
Just got your mic on, have you?
Yes, sorry, I've got a sore throat. The Ag Society, do we have a partnership agreement with them? What year is it in and how much is it currently?
Through the chair, yes, we do have a 3-year partnership with the Ag Society. It is for the amount of $15,750 per year, and over 3 years, that is $47,250.
It's in its first year?
So yes, it's in its first year of a 3-year partnership.
And the partnership agreement also, sorry, Madam Chair, also articulates the in-kind support that we provide to the Ag Society as well.
Yes, sorry, that
amount was the cash.
That $15,750 is just the cash component.
Another quick one. I'm just concerned about the wording of this. I just want to make sure that this is worded correctly so that it is in line with the current partnership. If it goes ahead.
Is that the question through to governance? Did you have
It just ongoing annual
to
kind
Ms.
of.
Hazelhurst to have a look at the wording?
If council were to approve this, it would need to be a partnership variation, and I think that would need to be dealt with within the resolution. So rather than saying approves an annual cash increase, I would say approves a variation to the current partnership agreement with the Brunswick Agricultural Society to reflect an annual cash contribution of $30,000.
Now, that is an administrative change. Councillor Coleman, do you feel comfortable as the mover to make that change to your alternate?
I am. My query was going to be, given Councillor Dickinson's suggestion that it could come back in September without detriment to the society, that my question to you was going to be, how do we perhaps just defer this item or vote it down? Is that what we need to do to bring it back in September?
We will put it to the vote, and if it's lost, then we would move to the substantive, and maybe you could make an amendment to the officer's recommendation in the substantive that the financial request from the Brunswick, correct me if I'm wrong here, governance, would be as per what Councillor, no, thank you. Ms Hazelhurst has suggested as a amendment to the officer's recommendation. Governance, I'm sure I've got that completely wrong, but I'll take your advice on it.
Through the chair, we're dealing with an alternative motion, not
We are.
an amendment.
Correct.
So we wouldn't come back to the officer's recommendation.
If it, unless this is lost.
If this is lost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if it's lost, then, because it's got a seconder, so it's not going to lapse. Councillor Dickinson still hasn't spoken as a seconder, but we can put it to the vote. If it's lost, we'll go back to the officer's recommendation, and then maybe we can feed in that suggested amendment to the wording in regards to that. Does that answer your question? Yes. All right, I'm going to move to Councillor Dickinson as the seconder. Did you wish to speak as the seconder? No? I wish you'd said that at the beginning.
We're now not amending that.
We're not amending that, no. So,
Is there any way, sorry, Madam, that we can see the motion again, the alternative motion?
yep, it's up on the screen now.
Oh, is it? Don't worry about it then, before.
All right. Councillor Coleman is the mover. Did you wish to say anything? No? Okay, I think we've discussed this one enough. I'll put the alternate motion to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? It is lost 0-8, but thank you so much for the conversation. We learned something, don't we? Rightio. We're going to move back now to the officer's recommendation. If we can have that one up in front of us. Rightio. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Bromham. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hitchcock. Are there any amendments? If not, Councillor Bromham as the mover, did you wish to speak?
No, I'm happy with the staff's recommendation.
Councillor Hitchcock.
No, I'm happy with it, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions, further debate? Yes, Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, just a question. So I take point 4, resolves not to approve. Does that mean that someone will talk to Brunswick Agricultural Society and suggest that they will come back to us so it's not quite so blunt, if that makes sense?
Through Acting CEO to Ms Hazel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, that is correct.
All right. We are all happy then? Happy in this, Councillor? Thank you. All right, I'm going to put this one to the vote before we change our mind. All those in favour? Thank you. That is carried 8-0. Thank you very much, councillors. Righty-ho. We are now moving to the elected members' motions, of which previous notice has been given, and Councillor Coleman has a notice of motion that's in front of us. I'm assuming, Councillor Coleman, you are moving that one, yes? Thank you. Do I have a seconder for this? Councillor McCarthy. Thank you. Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. I ask councillors to support this motion because it's fundamentally about good governance. This motion does not seek to change the Local Government Act. It simply asks that council adopt a higher administrative standard that enables elected members to properly fulfil the responsibilities the Act places upon us. The officer's report repeatedly refers to the fact that the statutory minimum is 72 hours and that councillors receive papers approximately 10 to 11 days before the council meeting. That statement is technically correct, but it misses the practical reality faced by elected members. The critical question is not how many days exist between the release of the agenda and the council meeting. The real question is how much realistic time do councillors actually have to read, understand and analyse the material before the agenda briefing. For this meeting, for this agenda briefing, the agenda and attachments totalled 818 pages. Those papers were released at approximately 4 p.m. on Friday, with councillors expected to have read, understood and prepared questions by the agenda briefing on Tuesday afternoon, effectively 3 days. To complete that task requires reading around 272 pages each day. If someone devoted 8 hours a day solely to council businesses, that equates to approximately 34 pages per hour, every hour, without allowing time to analyse complex reports, compare information, conduct research, prepare questions, eat a meal, or spend any time with family. It's simply unrealistic. The officer's report refers to governance, operational delivery and report quality, and I totally agree. But governance applies equally to elected members. Good governance is not achieved simply by producing quality reports. Good governance occurs when elected members have sufficient opportunity to critically assess those reports before decisions are made. This council consists of community representatives. At least 6 of the 9 councillors continue to work, some in full-time employment. Every councillor has family responsibilities. Many are also involved in community organisations and volunteer groups. None of us are full-time politicians. The officer's report speaks about the pressure placed on an administration if reports must be prepared earlier, and that concern is understandable. However, the report does not acknowledge the pressure currently placed on councillors. If administration requires additional time to prepare reports because of workload, then surely elected members deserve adequate time to review those reports before making decisions that affect our community. The issue is not new. It has been raised repeatedly. Previous agenda papers have exceeded 644 pages. This month they happen to be 818 pages. The volume of information continues to increase, yet the time available to properly consider it has not. The expectations that councillors sacrifice every weekend in order to keep pace with ever-expanding agenda papers is neither reasonable nor sustainable. Councillors should not have to choose between fulfilling their statutory responsibility and spending time with their families or their businesses. Ironically, if councillors decided to spend that weekend with their families rather than read 818 pages of reports, they could be rightly criticised for not exercising due diligence. That is not a position any council should place its elected members in. The officer's report also suggests that moving the publication date forward creates operational challenges, and I accept that there would need to be changes to internal workflows. But organisational processes exist to support good governance, not the other way around. If current processes prevent elected members from having sufficient time to perform their governance role, then surely those processes deserve to be reviewed. This motion does not diminish the work of officers in any way. It recognises that both officers and councillors have very important responsibilities. Officers prepare high-quality recommendations. Councillors make good decisions. Neither role should come at the expense of the other. Ultimately, this motion is about improving the quality of decision-making. Better prepared councillors ask better questions. Better questions produce better discussions, and better discussions produce better decisions. That benefits the administration, the council, and most importantly, the community that we serve. So I ask councillors to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor McCarthy is the seconder.
Councillor Coleman's covered that adequately, thanks.
I do. I have a question. I agree. We get lots of reading, so and it's far too much sometimes. So, but my question is, is there an opportunity to do this another way? So, in the event we usually meet on a Tuesday, and if staff are pushed in time to produce those reports in time for us, if they provide it on Friday, could the meeting be moved back to the Thursday so that it gives extra time for reading? I just wondered if that was an option.
Acting CEO, look, we're going to change days now.
Through the chair, I don't recommend changing days. They are advertised, and the community is also aware of those days. So generally, they would plan around those to be able to attend if need be. But there are still also other options as well, in that you could have a follow-up briefing that helps with questions prior to. It has to be very. We'd have to lean on Madam President to make sure that it stays to questions and clarifications only prior to the council meeting, which could be made open to the public around the questions that you have on the agenda itself for clarification. That gives you, it's something that I have done in the previous council, it gives you a second bite at questions if things have been raised in the meantime from the, what do you call it, the concept forum or the briefing the week before and prior to the actual council meeting itself, and that could be a way. I wonder whether that's something that might be kicked around the table in a concept forum coming up, and that you could look at some of those options in the future. The key point that concerns me from my role is that the timing and the checking, etc. Yes, it may sound lengthy, but and I take on board Councillor Coleman's comments around getting accuracy and the governance, etc. as well, is that if the reports that are coming to you are not quite complete yet because the month hasn't finished, or there's some reporting deadlines we haven't got to that point yet because we're striking the agenda at a certain point, you may not have all of the information at that certain time, and then you'll be facing a lot of addendums, and many addendums creates a lot more confusion as well. So I'd probably just caution on that one. But there are other ways, and we could kick that around the table in a concept forum if need be.
With that information from the acting CEO, maybe if I can move an alternate in that because obviously it's got merit, and I can see lots of councillors nodding their head with Councillor Coleman's position there. Maybe it's something that we need to bring to a concept forum and workshop before we make this decision, because there's obviously implications with staff, and there are obviously concerns from elected members in the time it takes to read. You know, Councillor Brom's just brought up the issue about another day that we hold our OCMs on, or an option that we have even though we've just canned ELTs before ordinary council meeting, but maybe it's a Q&A session before the ordinary council meeting. So I'd like to move in an alternate that maybe we bring this to the next concept forum for elected members to...
It'll be foreshadowed.
Foreshadow. There we go. I'll foreshadow an alternate. That's the way. That we bring this to the next concept forum for councillors to workshop. I believe Councillor Coleman's notice of motion has merit, but I think it's worth having that discussion at a concept forum. So I'll foreshadow that alternate, and we'll go back to the notice of motion. Are there any speakers for? Councillor Holly.
Yeah, I suppose, thank you, Madam President. I suppose I'm a bit unique because my reading difficulties and those sorts of things, but I think it's a great idea because, I mean, I'm not going to read 800 pages of the rest of my life. So it's one of those things that as long as I can get it and skim over it and get the good parts, I would vote for Councillor Coleman's well and truly.
Thank you. A speaker against? Speaker, Councillor Bromham, are you speaking against?
Yeah, look, I'd speak against the motion as it stands at the moment, even though I actually support the ethos of what's behind it, because I think it'd be great to bring this to a concept forum where there can be a broad discussion which includes both councillors and staff, so we can come to an agreement on which is the best way forward that allows staff to bring all the information we need to know at a specific time, but also allows us the time to read or go through it in a more proactive way.
Speaker for? Speaker against? Councillor Coleman?
Thanks, Madam President. Taking on board your foreshadowed motion, the question then is the current process the most effective use of everyone's time? At present, agenda papers are released on a Friday afternoon. Councillors are expected to absorb hundreds of pages over a weekend before attending an agenda briefing on the Tuesday, which can extend for way over 2 hours. For most councillors, this means virtually an entire weekend to read reports simply to be adequately prepared for the briefing, or at least trying to. Given that 6 of the 9 councillors remain in mostly full-time employment and we all have family commitments, and if the purpose of the agenda briefing is to ask informed questions, then surely councillors should have sufficient time to become informed. If we can't provide that additional reading time because of operational constraints, given your question or your suggestion about the concept forum, perhaps we should ask a different question, and that is, do we need a separate agenda briefing at all? The agenda briefing is not where decisions are made. It is essentially a forum for officers to explain reports and for councillors to ask preliminary questions before the formal meeting. Perhaps those valuable hours could instead be incorporated into a single, longer, ordinary council meeting, given that most councillors have already allocated a Tuesday as their council day. Under that model, agenda papers would continue to be released on the same Friday, satisfying the statutory requirement and also councillors' requirements. Councillors would have over a week to read, understand, digest and ask questions about the reports. The time currently allocated to the agenda briefing would simply become part of an ordinary council meeting, and councillors would gain several additional hours to prepare without requiring administration to alter its report timelines. This approach would also preserve the administration's existing workflow while providing elected members with more realistic preparation time. It would also enhance transparency. Questions currently asked during an agenda briefing would instead occur in the ordinary meeting, allowing our community to better understand the issues being considered and the reasoning behind council decisions. Most importantly, it recognises that good governance depends not only on well-prepared reports, but also on well-prepared decision makers. It's not about asking officers to work harder at all. It's about ensuring the governance framework works for everyone. If the administration can't bring the reports forward, then perhaps council should instead reconsider whether the current briefing structure remains the best model. And so I would support moving to a concept forum to discuss, to inquire or to explore both models.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? This is Councillor Coleman's. All those in favour? Those against? Oh, correction. Let me go back. Because you stuck your hand up before I... All those in favour? Those against? It is lost. 2-6. Thank you, Councillor Holly. It's been a long day. All right, we'll move to the foreshadowed when that comes up. To the September for further work. Yeah. 2026.
President,
Yes.
could it not be August? Is it concept forum discussion?
Acting CEO, you've got to make that call. What's it look like for August? I think staff have indicated September.
September might be it, yeah. Through you, Madam Chair, we didn't get through all of the topics from the previous council forum,
Yep.
so I wanted to prioritise those because they're a bit timely. If we're able to still continue, and this is clearly council's decision, if we're able to continue with the current arrangement and we can address this in September 2026 through a forum would be preferable.
Okay, and bearing in mind that it's now fleshed out a little bit more to take in meeting models, as Councillor Coleman raised previously. So it's not just when we get the agenda briefing minutes or reports, it's now the whole meeting concept. So it's a bit more. So the staff will have to do a bit more work around that in presenting it to the concept forum. So I'm happy with September 2026. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. So I'm happy to move that minute taker, and Councillor Dickinson is the seconder. Is there any further discussion around this one, councillors? No, I shall put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That's been carried. Thank you. 8-0. Thank you very much, councillors. Notice of motion for the following meeting. There's one there from Councillor Carboni. No, he's not available. He's asked for it to be presented at the August. Thank you. Councillor Holly, yes.
May I ask a question? Does this make room, and it may not be the full, does this make way that we should have more ELTs like we used to?
That will come as part of that
As part
discussion
of it?
at the
Beautiful.
concept forum. Thanks, Councillor Holly. Yeah. Reports of members. Anything that elected members wish to report on? Councillor Dickinson.
I would just like to report on the Brunswick Hall 90th celebration event. I was one of the members of the organising committee, and I would like to commend staff for the support and the extra work that was put into making sure that the hall was well presented. There was a lot of commentary of how well the hall looked, even though it is an aged piece of infrastructure and therefore has higher maintenance costs. But it was a very well attended event, and I would like to acknowledge the Brunswick community members that all assisted in putting on that event and thank everybody for attending. And it was a great event, just showing that when the community work together that they can achieve great outcomes. And it was a community driven event, it was not a Shire driven event. So I would just like to commend the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Any other reports? Councillor Bromham.
Yeah, I went to the event down at the Brunswick Hall as well, and I met Mrs. Italiano, who is 85 years old and swims 30 laps at the LLC every day. And she was a wonderful lady to talk to, and her eyes lit up when we were having our discussions. It was a genuine, really great experience. Also, I was at the Regional Road Group, and as I passed on to councillors earlier, there's some cost shifting in relation to bridges when they have emergency repairs. And I think we need to be aware of that, because that's going to be funds that we haven't thought about in our budget but may come back to us on bridges that Main Roads control. And I'd also like to thank them for the work they did on South West Highway, south of Brunswick. Thank you.
Anything else, elected members? Alrighty. New business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting is nil. Matters behind closed doors is nil. Thank you very much for those people that stayed in the gallery for the duration. Thank you. Thank you, councillors and staff. And I